crab business and so on, you know, and fish the boat. But after I think that the second year, Charlie bought his own boat, and I remember I sold the Dorothy Rose to Orvingo.
Oh yeah. He had it out of Real Easy Charters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what he tried to do was, we always paid our crew. The crew got a certain percentage of the catch, and the boat got a certain percentage of the catch, and so on.
I hope you paid them more than you paid your deckhands.
Well,
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
anyway, or wouldn't pay the price. So Charlie said, well, jam it, I'm going on my own. And he had to sell the boat.
Well, here's what I wrote down about the Maverick. It was built by Randy Shipbuilders in Seattle. This is my opinion. The Maverick was a classic flybridge wood boat that epitomized the charter boats of the future, boats that were designed and built especially for the charter boat business right here in Westport. Is that pretty close?
Yes, and the crab, it had a tank in it. We couldn't
You had a place for it.
We had a place for it, but we never used it as such because.
I painted that boat a couple of times.
I got to tell you, with Earl Grandy, he was the first surveyor of boats in the state of Washington, and he would always come down, and I was able to go over there and work with him, and he'd say, "Look at the fairness of that boat, and the planks and everything were just perfect." And when he put the caulking in and everything, the boat was just a dow.
A work of art. Yeah.
Yes.
So then in 1965, you bought that little, or maybe you rented that little building that was next to Rocky's Charters and started a coach.
Yes.
I remember that building. That was a pretty small building.
Well, it was a work shed for Helen and I guess the fellow that Helen and Freddie bought the place from had it back, and we had to move it ahead and kind of dial it up, and so we made it into a charter fishing place. And we started the Coho Charters there.
Yeah, right there. I was a deckhand in Lewis Charters looking across the street at my competition there.
Yes.
I didn't know you were in the competition. So then off to building probably it was one of the premier motel trailer park facilities in Westport. Motel, Charters, trailer park.
Yeah, it has we had been in the fuel business and up in the Tacoma area, and we sold it, and so I had some money that was all taxable, competitive, not to compete, was also. I decided I went up to the port and bought that block of land where the Coho Charters is right now, that whole block. And yes, we built the motel, and I'm glad if people go by it, and it's got the same. They really dialed it up, and it looks really good.
It looks
today.
good, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember coming by one day when you were digging some ditches to put your PVC pipe in where you were putting a trailer park.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he didn't have it all done. He did a lot of it himself. So then went on through. I know you ran a number of boats, the Rick Sue and the Cricket, and of course there were a couple of Cohos and Fleet Fisher, and of course our good friend Mark Morgan ran out of your office for all those years, and I think you finally retired somewhere along in 1978.
Yep.
And sold your 53-foot little Oakland boat called the Coho to a guy down in Newport, if I remember right.
Yes.
And your other Coho, the 56-foot Westport hull, is still owned by Roger Thomas, the guy who bought it from you in 1976, and he still runs it out of Sausalito.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That tells you that.
That's right.
We had the fellow that we sort of partnered up in building boats was Reese Wood,
Woods, yeah.
an old time builder. And he had all kinds of ties in Hoquiam with Chilmans
Yeah,
and all
right.
those people. And so we were able to just get the best of the best for what we were doing.
And I saw Roger at a meeting here over in Idaho on Monday, and I told him I was going to see you this weekend, and he said to say hello.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Maggie, fill in the blanks.
I was busy listening. See.
Come on up.
Frank was, I'll just read.
Okay, all right.
Frank participated in numerous community organizations and eventually was elected to the Westport Town Council. During his years on the council, the city started ambulance service, brought in sewer lines, acquired new equipment for the fire department, and expanded the water system. Let's see. You've already said that they operated the Cove Motel charters until 1976. During those years, they had the opportunity to work and fish with many wonderful people. Father Quick, World War I veteran and founder of the Catholic Church here in Westport. Jimmy Doolittle, World War II veteran. Bob Bush, World War II Congressional Medal of Honor winner. Astronauts Buzz Aldrin and Joe Allen. Joe Foss, World War II Medal of Honor winner, Governor of South Dakota, and First Commissioner of the American Football League. This is an important part. Frank and Dorothy were known for the crab feeds they put on at the Cove Motel for their guests and friends. Their door was always open. Dorothy used to say she never really knew who might be sitting at their dinner table. Frank had the privilege and opportunity to fish with most of the skippers that you mentioned tonight. Let's see. They left Westport in 1988 and moved to Olympia. And they lived there for 20 years, and they now reside in Milton. They had many good times and have many happy memories. They've made many good friends during their days in Westport. Frank and Dorothy and their family, we are all truly honored and grateful to be a part of this evening's event.
All right, now how about that picture of that fish? Can we get that?
I thought that this would be something that would be of interest to the museum here. So open it up.
I'm opening this picture on behalf of the Westport Maritime Museum.
Yes.
I've been a longtime member.
Okay, and that's what it's for.
Did you wrap this up? No, Grandma's not yet. Did you wrap this up?
It's got a lot of tape. Always go.
All right.
If you people remember back in, this is in 1957, 1959. If you remember, they had Port of Grays Harbor, Westport Fishing Basin, sign right down as he came off the ranch. Do people remember that?
Right across the salmon charter.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And so I had this fish here, and it weighed 57 pounds plus at that time, and it was caught by Tom Peterson, which I have
Yeah.
put down here,
Your
from
number.
Bremerton, Washington, near buoy number 8. And so I thought this would be something that the museum would like to have, and I wanted to present it to them tonight.
We'll treasure it always.
And this is in real good glass. So
So it's my distinct privilege and honor to present to you our new inductee to the Sport Fishing Hall of Fame right here in Westport, Mr. Frank Snyder.
probably one of the greatest honors I've ever had the opportunity to have to be here.
Great.
Thank you.
We love it. Before I go to our next honoree, I just wanted to share one more memory of Frank. I can't remember what I was talking about, but I was on the radio, we were running up, we were coming across the Willapa, I think we were coming home, and I was saying something. And he came on the radio after I was done, he said, "Phil, if bullshit were electricity, you'd be a powerhouse." Would you like to take a short break before we go to our next person? No? Everybody okay? Okay. So, our third inductee tonight for our 2013 class of our sport fishing, what am I saying? Hall of Fame is Jack Wester. You gotta come up here and sit with me.
Okay.
Did you know this? Pardon? Did you know this? This is really fun because with each one of these guys, they go back a long ways. And Jack and I shared some good times and some hard times.
Yeah.
And one of the good times is he and I and Donna went skiing together up in Crystal. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah, snow skiing. She said snow skiing. It wasn't water skiing. And I think that was the last time I went snow skiing. So you heard a little bit about, well, maybe not. So Jack served in the Korean War. And he was wounded in the Korean War. And he stepped on a landmine. Right foot? Left foot. And was awarded the Purple Heart in 1954. Right? And never, it may have slowed him down, but you'd never know if you looked at what he's done since then. He, coming out of the military, then took advantage, well, I don't know if he took advantage. He made use, how about that, of some funding that came from the military to help go through college. And he went to Western Washington University and graduated there. And he graduated from Western Washington University in 3 years. And given what the rest of a little bit of other things I know about you, you must have got a degree in teaching, in education.
Yes.
Think that's right? Yeah. So he was sitting around somewhere, up in Seattle or somewhere, and reading the newspaper, and lo and behold, here's this ad in the newspaper. Something about there's this business opportunity in Westport called G&M Charters, turnkey operations. And Jack's in it. Sounds like it could be for me. Came to Westport and bought G&M Charters. And if you want to take a look at what it looked like in 1958, 59, right in there, yeah. There wasn't much to it, I'll put it that way. There were some sand dunes around it, and there was kind of a bank, a dune in front of it that was just kind of, but there wasn't a lot there, from what I saw. So then in 1960, he moved the whole family to Westport. Yeah? 60, that's right. Full time. Yeah. And G&M Charters, not only charters, but they did U-drive boats. Can you imagine doing that today? I mean, what do you have to go through to rent a U-drive boat? Say, go ahead, buddy, take
It
it.
went over the rocks, over the south.
They went over the
way too
rocks,
many
they
times.
south, yeah.
Until it finally went over one time too many.
Yeah,
How about fishing?
And of course, they also had a few, what I understood were to be rickety wooden docks. Yeah. And Jack also, of course, made use of his education and taught school right here on Costa from 1962 through 1974. Wow. Yeah. And he was a basketball coach. And what I heard was that you use some unorthodox methods of coaching basketball. Yeah? No details other than simply to say they were unorthodox.
Something called an amble drill.
What's that?
There's something called an amble drill.
Ammo drill? Animal drill.
I still have a scar.
Sounded like it had something to do with conditioning. How did the team do? Kim, how did the team do?
Okay, pretty good.
All right.
A bunch of M's.
Jack ran a boat called Melody, I think starting in 1965, something like that. And there's a picture of the Melody back here on the wall. And it's a pretty nice looking boat. And so he ran that. It was a 42-foot boat. There's a lot of boats that were 42 feet, it seemed like. And then I made this other part up on my own. This one here. I said, and then he caught the bug. And the bug was the speed bug. That a lot of us get. Your son got it, by the way, too. And so he bought a, I think it was 42 feet too, wasn't it? The little girl? The little girl? Yeah. A boat built out of aluminum hull, aluminum house, I think the whole thing, right? Yeah. And was fast. And the speed was great fun. He beat everybody to the fishing grounds. He beat everybody home. The only problem was that the boat had a tendency to develop a few cracks, which turned into leaks. And so there was a bit of a cost associated with going fast in an aluminum boat, right? But if you look at, there's pictures of the Hula Girl back there, the original Hula Girl, and it was pretty sleek. And he eventually, you turned the wheel over to Bud Eaton in 1976 for a year, is that right? With the Hula Girl? Does that sound right? Steve? Yeah. Trusting guy. And then, of course, he turned the Hula Girl over to one of his sons, Steve, in the following year, 1977. Yeah. And then you just, I mean, you did all kinds of stuff after that. You did, of course, you and your wife Donna were on the Sea Star out of Larson Charters. You built a 53-foot little Hoquiam boat in the winter of '78. You operated the Naughty Gull out of Rainbow Charters. You built a 56-foot Westport hull called the Ultimate. I think that was in the winter of '81. And then you showed up on a few other boats too that weren't on my list, but it seems like I remember you being there. The Tally Ho was one. Yeah. And so, I mean, this guy from 1958, coming down here, that's why I call them pioneers and entrepreneurs and risk takers. I mean, look at the building back there that he bought, that he saw something in that and saw an opportunity and just said, yeah, I'm going for it. And made something out of it and built a career here in the charter business and in the community and raised his family here. And two of his boys, Phil and Steve, are still in the charter business. His grandson, Jason's in the charter business. And they're still leading oil. Right.
Yeah.
So, it's really fun to be here with you, and we are really honored to be able to induct you into the Sport Fishing Hall of Fame for 2013. You're going to join Frank Snyder and Ken Hensley as this year's class, and an outstanding class it is. One other piece about Jack that I want to add. Like a lot of these people, Earl and Mark and Frank and Jack, they were leaders in this industry. And Jack took on the job of being the president of the Westport Charter Association in the mid-'80s. And that was one of the toughest times, probably compared to 1994, that this industry ever faced. We were at 212 boats in '78. Seasons were getting cut. We went from a 3 to a 2 fish limit. We were no longer starting in the middle of April. Went to May 1st, and it went to middle of May, and things were getting shrunk. New size limits were coming on, and barbless hooks were later. And it was a really tough time. And then we came face to face with 1984, where Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife biologists were arguing for no season whatsoever. And Jack was president of the association at the time and just fought tooth and nail to get this town a season. And I remember we were upstairs in the chateau, which was the Canterbury at the time, I think. And we had so much pride, he had so much pride to announce to the Charter Association that we got a season. It wasn't a big season, but we got a season. We weren't closed. I think we had a 13-day season, if I recall. And part of it, we had to fish down below Cape Showalter, but we got a season. And we would never have got that without the commitment and dedication of Jack Lester. And so he's not only obviously been here for himself, he's been here for everybody else too. And that's what makes each one of these guys such great people and such great leaders. So, thanks. So that wraps up at least my part of the program tonight. Mike, any additional thoughts, any other things that we wanted to try to do here tonight?
There's
There's comments from others.
Some comments.
One of the reasons I went around to the room at the start was to give everybody a chance not only to introduce yourself, but tell us a little bit about why you're here and how you're honoring these guys. So if there are some other things that anyone would like to share for Frank or Jack, please feel free to do that.
I guess that one thing I should have said when we came around, he and Donna, really taught my three boys how to work. Gave them a work ethic that is worth all three of my boys today. And they wouldn't have that work ethic if it weren't for these two. They raised them for quite a few summers. And I thank them for that
Great.
very much.
Thank you.